Kei Urana is the author and illustrator of Gachiakuta and has been at the center of 5 separate controversies, none of which she actually started. Let's go through all of them one by one because they are honestly hilarious, and the answer is not always what Twitter wants you to believe, portraying Urana as this monster. Buckle up, it's a long journey. Before we get into anything, I want to establish something important. Kei Urana is a mostly private creator. She doesn't do long interviews, she's not constantly online beefing with fans. She posts her work, shares her creation process, and occasionally gives glimpses into her life through Instagram stories that vanish after 24 hours. That matters because a lot of what we'll be talking about today stems from a fandom that has built enormous expectations around the creator who frankly never asked for that kind of parasocial relationship. Keep that in mind. We start in December 2025, a live-action stage adaptation of Gachiakuta is announced, and on paper, that's exciting news. The manga and anime has a visual identity that feels practically made for theatrical staging, and where the controversy begins is when the promotional poster drops. Two of the characters, Corvus and Semiu, both dark-skinned and beloved by fans, are portrayed by Japanese actors in heavily darkened makeup. And immediately, some fans get angry. The term blackface starts circulating within hours and the criticism is loud and widespread. Now here's where it gets complicated. Urana herself came forward and said that she had advocated for black performance to be cast. According to her, she was told by the production company that finding black actors who were fluent in Japanese for the run of the show would be logistically unfeasible. She pushed back, but they didn't listen. The production company issued an apology. The promotional material was eventually pulled. But because Urana's name is on the property, because she is the face of Gachiakuta, a significant portion of the backlash landed on her regardless. Some fans accepted her explanation. Others felt that if she truly objected, she would have pulled her approval from the production entirely. People were angry, but it eventually died down. Fast forward to January 2026. This one is more fandom internal, but it blew up just as fast. Tamsy is a character in Gachiakuta who had, over time, accumulated a significant transgender headcanon within the English-speaking fandom specifically. Fan art, fanfiction, community discussions, a lot of people had emotionally invested in that reading of the character. A fan of the series created fake DMs between him and Urana, with her allegedly saying that Tamsy is transgender and also laughing with some poop emojis. Urana took to Twitter and posted that she doesn't personally see Tamsy as transgender. She wasn't harsh about it and actually laughed since she doesn't use poop emojis. She wasn't dismissive, but she was clear. The post gained over 800k views, and the discourse that followed split almost perfectly down the middle, with one part of the fandom saying authors don't have to validate every headcanon, and asking them to is exhausting and unreasonable. The other camp saying when a fan community builds something meaningful around representation and the author shuts it down publicly, that carries real weight, especially for trans readers who felt seen. What made it worse was the pile-on that followed, people on both sides going way too far online. Urana mostly went quiet, which honestly can't blame her. Guys, first, don't hate on people, and second, I really don't see how pressuring a mangaka into accepting your own headcanon would work. It's her own world and her own story to tell. As Bleach's author said, if you have a better story to tell, become a mangaka. If not, accept it. This one is maybe the most chaotic of the bunch because it was almost entirely manufactured by rumors. In 2023, early in Gachiakuta's serialization, Urana had asked that translations and early press materials refer to her with gender-neutral language. The reasoning was straightforward. She was trying to stay anonymous while the manga found its footing. She didn't want her personal identity to overshadow the work. That's a completely reasonable and fairly common thing for creators to do. But by early 2026, almost 3 years later, it had mutated into a widely spread claim that Urana was non-binary and used they-them pronouns. This wasn't from any interview, it wasn't from any statement she'd made. It was pure telephone game, passed through enough fan wikis and Reddit threads that it started to look like an established fact. And it spread far enough that Urana felt the need to address it herself. She posted an Instagram story clarifying that she uses she/her pronouns and always has. The story was gone within 24 hours, as Instagram stories are, but the screenshots circulated for weeks. What's frustrating about this one is that it shouldn't have been a controversy at all. No one was harmed by the correct information, but the speed with which misinformation had embedded itself into the fandom's understanding of who Urana is as a person, that's kinda unsettling and parasocial. And it speaks to a larger problem of fans feeling like they own the narrative around their favorite creators. 1 month later, in February 2026, Urana posted a request, not a demand, asking fans to stop tracing her official cover art and volume illustrations to insert their own original characters, because it was causing confusion between fan edits and the actual manga covers. She had made a similar request before, but this was the second time. The response should have been simple, but it wasn't. A subset of fans pushed back hard, saying that Gachiakuta's popularity was partially built on the OC and fan art community around it. Some took it further, accusing Urana of being ungrateful or out of touch. Urana clarified patiently that she has nothing against fan art or OCs or creative engagement with her work. Her only concern was the specific issue of traced official art causing confusion. She was not asking people to stop being fans, she was asking people to stop doing one specific thing that created a real practical problem. The discourse ran for a week. She eventually stopped responding to it. Urana's most recent controversy is from this month, and it's because of shippers. Get ready for some My Hero Academia Prime controversy. Specifically, the Janka fandom. That's the ship name for Jabber and Zanka. Now look, shipping is a completely normal part of fandom culture. People have always shipped characters and always will, and there's nothing wrong with it. But as always, the problem here wasn't the ship, the problem was the behavior. Fans had been repeatedly showing up in Urana's Instagram lives to demand that she acknowledge the pairing. Not ask, demand, and when she didn't engage or when she was engaged in a way that didn't validate what they wanted to hear, it escalated. Comments, DMs, the works. Urana eventually posted an Instagram story that addressed it directly, and she was diplomatic about it right up until she wasn't. The key line, and I'm translating loosely here, was something along the lines of, "What frustrates me is not the fan content itself, it's the people who throw childish tantrums when I don't confirm it. I want to remind everyone I am the official side of Gachiakuta." That post went viral, and honestly, it should have, because that's a line that a creator should never have to say, and the fact that she had to say it is the whole story. It's honestly weird to tell a mangaka what's real about her own story. It's like me going to a painter telling him he used the wrong colors. People need to understand that Kei Urana is not a corporation. She's one person making a manga she clearly cares about deeply, and she keeps getting pulled into controversies that were either not her fault or were blown wildly out of proportion by a fandom that forgot that there's a human being on the other side of the Instagram account. The stage play was a production company's mistake. The Tamsy situation was an author sharing her own interpretation of her own work. The non-binary rumor was fabricated. The art request was reasonable, and the shipping thing was straight up harassment and dressed up as enthusiasm. People just need to let the woman draw. But that's the end of it. Don't forget to hit subscribe and drop in the comments which of these was the most unhinged. And as always, see you next time.